My name is James. I'm an assistant head teacher at a secondary school in London, and my subject specialism is physical education. It's difficult for two reasons. Obviously, the primary objective of PE is to get students active as much as possible for as long as possible. And then as they progress, that's balanced out with theoretical learning. And the purpose of PE in the curriculum is to provide them with lots of health-based outcomes. And so lockdown and sending students at home literally severs the ties between physical activity and health benefits and the location, the site at which they would normally conduct that type of learning and activity. So it's a challenge in that respect straight away. And then trying to enthuse and inspire and motivate through a webcam or a live medium or through Microsoft OneNote or Google Classrooms then heightens the difficulty. Okay, so we've got two methods of achieving that. Firstly, we conduct live lessons using Microsoft Teams. We record those lessons and we teach them using a Q&A feature. So the Q&A feature is the students' opportunity and their mechanism to engage with their teachers, and they can ask us lots of questions and they can answer questions. We then go into present mode, and it's almost like being on the radio in many respects, because they can just see the computer screen and the slides, and we're talking to them and we're asking them questions and they're commenting in the Q&A, and we pair up like you and I are now actually with a colleague, and the colleague will perhaps be in control of moderating the Q&A and I'll be in control of teaching the lesson. And then that is sort of followed up with lessons on Microsoft OneNote, so they can access their learning like that. Now for Key Stage 3 students, we have some theory learning and we have some activity-based learning. And then for GCSE students, everything at the moment is focused on either coursework provision or exam-based provision, depending on what might happen. So to try and answer the question about the activity sort of side of things, that's challenging for us because we can't motivate them through the way our school wants us to teach for safeguarding reasons, to enable them to be as active as possible, like in a normal way that they would have in school. And the competing stimuli for us is things like live workouts, Joe Wicks, for instance, and other forms that then kind of, they compete against us in how we can get our students active. For us in our school, him out there doing what he's doing is beneficial for us because we can't, due to safeguarding reasons, share our screens and then have live workouts in the style that he does, because our school and our federation doesn't want us to do that. So actually it benefits us that someone out there like him is doing that. So it's very difficult for us to hit the physical activity agenda. It's a real challenge for us. Definitely. So in summer we did a virtual sports day, and the PE department all did clips of themselves performing activities that a student could reasonably achieve at home. And the demographic of our area is extremely diverse and extremely deprived as well. So we literally fit that stereotype of lots of families in 1 or 2 bedroom flats with no outdoor space. They're not allowed to go outside. There's lots of restrictions when they do. Lots of families feel nervous about going outside. So we had to be really creative with what we could do. And of course, the physical activity agenda at home, as you just mentioned there, poses all kinds of health and safety risks. And I've heard rumours that some schools are worried about promoting physical activity at home in case of where there's a blame, there's a claim type scenarios. So it's very challenging to know what we can reasonably suggest we do. Hugely. My December was literally spent in isolation, literally 2/3 of that month. And I too live in a 1 bedroom flat, and there's no outside space. It was freezing cold. It wasn't particularly a fun time of the year for all sorts of different reasons. And I found my mental health struggling because I wasn't engaging with people. I wasn't able to go outside. I'm someone who likes to be active and be in the outdoors. And so closing myself off from that, I found a real challenge. And I'm an adult, and the impact for children is heightened because they need stimulation and they need engagement in lots of different factors. And whilst children are learning, the older they get, the kind of connections and things that they're interested in reduces because they've become enculturated to a way of life based on how they're brought up and how their parents want them to be, and then their own choices as adults. So part of a broad and balanced curriculum is that it gives them access to a variety of different things to keep those kind of curiosities as active for as long as possible. And so when you shut children off, those curiosities are shut off as well. And so it has a huge impact on them. And one of the great things about physical activity is it alleviates those symptoms of social, emotional, mental health issues. But the difficulty we have is it's like trying to build a dam and the river is still flowing at the same time. You know, we want to get across to the other side to help, but lockdown and remote learning is the strength of the current that we're trying to dam the river against. And we know at the other side there's people there who are literally suffering because they're not getting the stimulation that they need, you know. And I think that's often overlooked in the curriculum. The curriculum is designed in a way so that it stimulates children and young people, and if they don't get that stimulation, they will suffer over the long term, and that too will then lead to a long-term social, emotional, mental health issue. So one of the sad things is we're trying to reduce transmission as much as possible, right? And we have some of the key worker and vulnerable children in school, and they'll say, sir, can we have a football or can we have a basketball? And the answer is no, we just can't, because suddenly that is an object that then gets passed around between lots of different people, and it becomes an object for transmission. And so even when you want to be able to sometimes give them the opportunity to do something fun that can bring them some semblance of enjoyment, the underscore is the risk assessment. And so it's just sad on so many different levels for so many different reasons that we have to be extremely careful. Yeah, it's an awful feeling, and some of those things that they enjoy most are the break times, lunch times, and lessons in the outdoors, and being active as much as possible. Yeah, absolutely. It was so nice in September to be teaching again. And one of the things that I really stressed to our head teacher was activity time outside for as much as possible. We're lucky that our school has very limited facilities. It's on a very small site, but we have a grass pitch that's only 7-a-side size of a football pitch. So it's quite small, but it's grass and it's green and there's trees that grow on it. And so I said to him, look, we need our children outside in that space, you know, just being active. We kind of reframed our operational priorities for the PE department to reflect as much time outside safely as possible, high activity levels for as long as possible. And the focus on learning would be on things like the components of fitness, so agility, balance, coordination, strength, and so on, rather than teaching to a particular objective like today, you're going to learn how to bowl in rounders. It's nothing like that. It was just outside, lots of fun, lots of activity. And if they can leave that lesson having learned something new that they didn't know at the start, then, you know, we were fulfilling the need for our kids as much as possible in our area. So it was just awesome for them, and it was awesome for us, and it kind of gave us some semblance of normality. And at one point we had 3 different lessons going on safely, 2 on the field, 1 in a multi-use games area, and we had 2 trainee teachers with us as well. And it was nice from my perspective just to stand and watch all that level of activity going on. You know, there's trainee teachers who were making progress towards becoming a teacher. We had an NQT who was making progress towards achieving their objectives. We had our staff back operating as a normal department, and the students were really enjoying it, and activities were really high. And we've not actually had one major behaviour issue at all in the term from September to December. I think such was the levels of enjoyment the students were getting from just being outside and being active.